Hello, my Juicy co-creators. Lilou here on the Juicy Living Tour in San Diego. Today I'm sitting next to Dawa. I love that name, Dawa. Wow, that's power right there.
Okay, yeah,
Is
well,
that your birth name?
it's actually a name that was given to me by my teachers, and it means moon. It's a Tibetan name, means moon. But even my family, all of my friends and associates only know me by that name, so it resonates well. And yeah, all my work is done with that name.
Yeah. You brought meditation into schools and for kids at a young age, and you have done some research. But you are actually a lama. I mean, this is so. It means what? Meditation teacher? Is that right?
Lama means teacher, yes. If you want to translate it loosely, it's a title given to Buddhist teachers in the tradition of the Himalaya Vajrayana Buddhism. Yes.
And so you've been meditating a lot in those areas of the world. I mean, how did you get there?
I was actually trained by teachers in France. I spent 12 years in a monastery there, 10 years as a monk, and 7 years in retreat, in full-time meditation retreat.
It's interesting because we don't really
We French, so
no, yes, and I've interviewed actually a lama. I will find out again his name because we spoke of meditation, and it was really interesting because we did that in Antibes, south of France, near those big yachts, and apparently lamas are really into also letting go and detaching, and detachment is a big deal.
detachment is a big deal for everyone. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. It's
You
important.
look different. Than, yeah.
What? Why?
And you look no, but the I love it because this really brings a big piece to the conversation. Like most of the time, we judge people by their appearance or their looks or where they're from. And here you are in suit, being a meditation teacher.
Yes. Yes. Well, the actual qualities we're talking about are qualities of the person, inner qualities. And looks can be very deceiving in that way. And so once we can get beyond the looks, we can actually discover who a person is, then we'll see the kind of qualities they have. And so for my work, since I live in America now and I work mostly with people who have families and who live professional lives, I look just like everybody else. And so it illustrates that this work transcends wardrobe. Yeah, it's not about the haircut, it's not about the clothes, it's actually about who you are as a person, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions.
You were in a different environment before, and now you're in this environment or living in Santa Barbara. So did that change anything to your practice of who you are?
I don't think it changed who I am as a person at all. I think that it's just whenever you transition from one culture to another, and I have done that at least 4 times in my life, from the US to Germany to France, back to the US. And so there's always a process of transformation that you undergo until you are fully open again to the culture in which you live, and you fully assimilate the story and the history and the expression of that culture. And so it took a while once I moved back to the US to feel again at home. But now Santa Barbara is my home. I live here since 2005, and I'm very happy here, and I can do wonderful work here at the university and also with my company.
Yeah, tell us the work that you do there within the university in particular.
At the university, I do research in cognitive neuroscience at the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences, and particularly what we focus on is how mindfulness mediates distraction and mind wandering in children. So we know that when children get distracted or their minds wander, that their understanding of what they're supposed to learn in school is affected, and their well-being is affected, their mood, their self-esteem. And so we're teaching them mindfulness practices that include meditation, but that also include just paying attention to everyday experiences like conversations or walking or riding their bike. And we look how that helps them cultivate attention, and how that added attention then reflects in their academic achievements, but also in their overall well-being and in their self-esteem and their relationships with other kids. And
Is that on regular kids, regular schools, or in some particular kind of schools?
Private schools and public schools. The research is funded at the moment by the U.S. Department of Education, which is also good for your viewers to know that actually there is a growing interest in seeing how these practices can assist children in their development. But
such a good news. We should speak more about those good news. Yes.
Sure. Yes. You need to hear the good news. Humans are slow to learn, but they do catch on. Yeah.
And the government is open to this, and parents also, and it has its own. It's becoming an own discipline, something that kids are learning as a program, like a history program. I mean, it's just as important.
Well, the foundation of it is that it's secular in nature. So we really purely approach it from the perspective of cultivating attention, mindful attention. And the programs are not yet part of the regular curriculum. We actually have a program that lasts about 8 weeks, and we're able to implement it in public and private schools during the semester within the existing logistics that they already have. So we don't have to rewrite the lesson plan. We're able to just come in, educate and train the kids, and then leave again. So we do as little interruption as possible. And we're also, like I said, we're doing it in the context of research, so that the parents, the administrators, the policymakers, the teachers, and the researchers can all enter into a relationship of trust. And we look at the program, we look at the data, we look at the kids and how they develop over time, and we have an open conversation. Is this something of benefit? How can it be of benefit? How can we all work on this together, just so that our kids can grow up a little saner, a little happier, and with a little better skills to address the growing demands on their minds. Kids these days are as stressed as most adults. Yeah, we meet 6th graders, 8th graders that are already concerned mostly about what college they're going to get into, and partly that's the result of a value system that they've inherited from their parents and the society of the adults. And so it makes only sense to give them access to tools that allow them to mediate the stress that they're experiencing. We don't just want them to inherit their parents' stress, we also want them to inherit their parents' tools. And so we have to put a little bit of effort in that direction.
And how early do you start with that? Because I read some things, or I had conversations with people that until you're 6 years old, actually, everything, it's really a time where everything gets ingrained, and this is who you are then. And so I bet it's really crucial times to practice that.
We at the moment work with kids that are 10 years and up. But there are programs that work with kids all the way starting in kindergarten, even preschool, and we've been approached by K-8 and K-12 institutions. And so as the curriculum unfolds and as we're developing these programs, we'll move towards programs that are suitable for kids at any age level. Yeah. They have to then have different kinds of activities, and we have to make sure that they are age appropriate and have enough of physical movement and playfulness in order to actually speak to the developmental age of the child.
Yeah, because do we know the consequences too? Is there some negative aspects, or?
There aren't actually any negative aspects that we've observed. Yeah, all the trends that we've observed are positive that come out of mindfulness training, because it just puts the person in touch with who they already are. Yeah, we're not changing who they are. We're not trying to affect who they are. We're just giving them tools to get to know better what it is that they got born into, and what the different influences are they experiencing every day. So far, no negative effects.
If people are listening to this, or families want to know if they can have that in their school, how does that work?
Well, recently we published a study too in Psychological Sciences that was picked up by the New York Times and the Huffington Post that actually talked about a study that we did where we worked with undergraduates in the mindfulness program, and we showed that compared to the control group, they improved on their graduate record examination by 16%. which is a really important test to get into grad school, and also that their working memory capacity changed over the course of 2 weeks of mindfulness. And so parents actually contact us quite regularly once they read about these studies, and they ask, how can we get our kids into these programs? Can you offer these programs in our area? Do you know anyone in our area that can offer programs like this? And so I think in terms of mindfulness research, we're just at the beginning of developing a network around the country and an open exchange about research data and programs and content, program content. And at UCSB, we'll also be beginning to train facilitators. And at my institute, we will be training facilitators so that parents and teachers and people who are naturally inclined to do this kind of work can come and get involved. We do have to make sure that there's a certain quality control. Ideally, any person who is involved in mindfulness training also has some personal experience with mindfulness, just so that they know how to answer questions and guide the development properly.
No, because a lot in a lot of schools, a lot of people want to start new type of schools also. So here you're just saying, well, let's not reinvent the whole wheel, but let's add this piece. And that can transform the whole schooling system.
Yeah, attention has a quality of transformation in itself. Yeah, once you pay attention to something, it begins to transform. Mainly because transformation is inherent. Yeah, we're born into transformation. Already our birth is transformation from embryo to baby. And then it goes on and on and on. So we are actually naturally transforming. And once we place attention on something, we'll see that we're naturally transforming, or that the area that we place attention on is naturally transforming. So attention is a very powerful tool to support transformation. Yeah.
And this is clearly part of your Lama training.
It is, yes. But like I said, I do apply my classical Lama training in the direction of a meditation center in Santa Barbara that I'm in charge of and where I'm the resident teacher. But the work with the children is secular in nature, and the work that my company does in mindful leadership also is secular in nature. Because it's important. The understanding of mindfulness and awareness in this country is still fairly young. And there is a certain trust and openness that has evolved due to the many scientific studies that have been done and the quality results that have come out of these studies. And people need to know that those methods and tools do not need a religious context in order to produce results. But that these are just great practices for people to understand themselves better and get to know their nature better. And that everything else will naturally develop out of those efforts. Yeah.
And what's amazing when we think in neuroplasticity terms, then I guess those brains of those little kids are ready to receive just the best from life.
Well, you know how kids are. Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
Okay, so kids really emulate very much, yeah, and they take a very fresh approach to things, but they also have a real radar for authenticity. Yeah. And whether you as an adult are being yourself, and whether you as an adult are actually practicing what you're talking about, and whether the traces of your own practice are showing in your life, are active in your life. And so I think that the idea that we can have educational system that just tell kids what to do, but as adults we actually live lives that are completely contrary to what we're trying to teach our kids, I think is foolish. I don't think that it works. Kids really pay attention as to how we as adults shape our community and live our lives. And so for us to hope that our kids become conscious while we remain asleep, I think is a little bit misleading. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think that as parents, as administrators, as teachers, as community leaders, and so on, as policymakers, we have to have a conversation as to the kind of examples that we want to present in terms of the way we are, not in terms of the way we speak and what we talk about, but how are we? Because that is what kids copy more than what we say.
Well, there's certainly a lot of practice there to put in place, or a lot of things that we can do as adults, I can see. But that's part of our training every day. Thank you so much. Is there something else that you would like to add to this conversation that is important to say?
Well, I think we spend a lot of time now talking about the kids, and maybe we'll take a moment and talk about organizational leadership and adults like you in position of influence, and how important it is to understand that transformation is something organic, and that rather than creating a better future, it's really about cultivating a better present. And it's a very different approach. Oftentimes, in creating a better future, we think that the end justifies the means, and we do a lot of harm trying to create a better future. If we cultivate a better present, we actually realize that everything is already part of that present. And so we're less inclined to do as much harm.
Because in nature, life is transformational by itself.
It is.
But we were so trained into goal setting, into all this. I mean, Jack Canfield himself used to talk so much about this, that it's really just shifting the whole perception on everything. Just really, I totally get that. Being more present, and that we're just guided then step by step into the next thing to do that will eventually transform and assist this planet to shift. And we are that.
And goal setting is a really good skill. But we understand it in terms of goals for the future rather than goals for the present. I can have a goal for a different present, and I can put that goal slowly into reality. So the goal setting is actually a good skill, but the understanding of it being in the future can be adjusted. Why wait? Let's set a goal for a better present.
Fully get it. It's kind of the intention. What's the difference between a goal and an intention then?
It's a good question.
In the present.
Correct. I think the intention is the motivating factor. The goal is the vision. There are two things that drive transformation. Either there's a paradigm shift, which means you realize that your ideas about things are not accurate, and that what you thought was stable is not, and so you're forced to change because of the shift in the paradigm. Or you have a vision. You actually already see something that is a possibility, and so you're motivated to move toward that. But either one or the other is going to drive your transformation. And I think the intention is something that motivates the transformation, and the goal is something that actually connects with where you want to go.
And leaders, how do you define leaders then? I guess you're talking of conscious leadership.
Yes. I define leaders as people that have taken enough time to have an understanding of what's important for people to be well, and what's important for people to experience a sense of happiness and freedom. And because they've taken the time to reflect on that and understand that, they are worthy of people's trust. So I think leaders are people. I heard a young man say that to me once. I was in New York City at Penn Station, and I was talking to an 8-year-old. And we were talking about leadership, and he asked me what a leader was, and I asked the question back. I said, what do you think a leader is? And he looked at me for a moment, and then he said, a leader is something who cares about how other people feel, and he does what he can to try to help them. So there you go, out of the mouth of an 8-year-old.
There's so much wisdom right there. We have so much. I feel that we have more to learn from them than we have to teach to them, but I guess it's a balance there.
Anyway, so thank you for your time. I know you had a long day, so.
Oh, I had a delicious day, and this gives me even more energy, when people are into their own presence. It's fantastic. You don't deplete energy. You just feel good, and you're actually enriched by the experience. So a delight to be speaking with you, Dawa. I'm very, very thrilled. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay.
Big kisses to all Juicy co-creators out there, and make sure that your kids, what a beautiful thing. I'm really happy we got into this conversation. Yes.
We will be doing more over the next few years. You will hear more of this mindfulness work.
Yes. Thank you. Big kisses. Bye.